Hey guys, it's Mark from The Abstract. Today we're going to have another brief tutorial to describe the difference between consonance versus dissonance sounds. And in order to do that, the best way is to probably spend time away from a Logic session view and focus on a keyboard. Just so you know, I've loaded in as a software instrument the Steinway grand piano found in the Logic library. So let's turn it over to the keyboard to describe the difference between consonance and dissonance sounds. So let's turn over to the keyboard now to explain this concept even further. When you describe consonance or dissonance, you do have to acknowledge the fact that consonance or dissonance cannot be achieved without playing two or more notes, because you have to describe the relationship between them. So mainly, the main difference between consonance and dissonant sounds. Consonant sounds are sounds that sound pleasant or good or correct. Dissonant sounds sound the opposite, incorrect, off, bad. And we'll get more into the intervals that make up consonance and dissonance in a later lesson. But for now, we're focusing on what we hear. So let's turn over to the keyboard. If I play these two notes, other than it being C and E resulting in a major third, we can describe the sound as a consonant sound. Why? Because it sounds good. It sounds like it fits. Here is another consonant sound. It sounds like it fits. So between these two notes and these two notes, we have two consonant intervals. And what makes them consonants is nothing more than the fact that they sound like they work together. You can add more notes to this. So if I were to play these three notes, it still sounds like a good sound. If I were to play these three notes, still sounds correct. So it doesn't matter how many notes you play, as long as it's more than one. If it sounds like it works, it's consonant. If it sounds like it doesn't, it's dissonant. Now, when we go back to this relationship, we'll notice that it doesn't just sound good. It sounds happy. It sounds elegant. It sounds uplifting. But this is another type of consonant sound that doesn't have the happiness. It's sadder. It's more melancholy. Same with this relationship. If we were to change this to this, it's a sadder sound, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still a consonant. It's still a consonant interval, even though it's happy or sad, because it sounds like they work well together. Same if I were to group three notes into this. This is a happy consonant chord. This is a more sad consonant chord. Happy, sad. We can get even sadder. That's still a consonant sound, even though it's as sad as it probably could be, because they sound like they work together in a relationship. Now, if we start playing notes that are closer together, or if we were to go far apart, something about these relationships sounds a little off, and those would be dissonant sounds. So here's a consonant sound. Here's a dissonant sound. Here's an even more dissonant sound. Here's a consonant. And here's a dissonance. The cool thing about consonance and dissonance is, depending on where you're playing a note in the frequency spectrum, or a grouping of notes, I should say, determines whether it's consonance or dissonance. I only have a 5-octave keyboard here, but if we can imagine more octaves attached, and if we were to play this interval, it sounds good here, but if we were to go down a couple octaves, Maybe not that one as much as this one. It sounds way more dissonant, even though it's the same makeup as the two notes up here. Or up here. So just because you play a certain interval doesn't always mean it's going to be consonant. If you were to bring the interval down all the way to the lower frequencies of the keyboard, it's going to sound rumbly, even though it's the same interval, C to E. Same if I go really high. And even higher than that. You can't really make out that sound anymore. So is it consonant? Is it dissonant? It sounds more dissonant to me, but not if you play it down here. It's a very happy consonant sound. So consonance and dissonance has a lot to do with the relationship between certain notes, the intervallic quality, the types of intervals that we're playing. Or it could be determined by where you're playing the interval within the frequency spectrum, as I just showed you. So just take that in. It's good to know. Stay tuned for the next lesson.